The amphibian fledgling nobleman, also known as the Frog Prince. Now it was the custom of the daughter of the king, a fledgling noblewoman, to perambulate in silent solitude at twilight along a coppiced stream bedecked in bonnet and boots. Upon reaching a headwater near a cool and welcoming lagoon, she observed a perennial of the genus Rosa, positioned anterior to the lagoon but proximal to its edge. Somewhat stirred and stimulated by the intensity of the flower's aroma, she was seduced into a period of profound contemplation and engaged in an absence of movement and taciturnity for a time. This fledgling noblewoman had in her possession a golden orb, a gilded ball, which accompanied her unremittingly, it being her most beloved bauble. Assiduously she would heave the orb high into the heavens, and thus having hoved, would retrieve and repeat. During one such aerial iteration, she inadvertently failed to retrieve her golden orb from its downward trajectory, whereupon it crashed abruptly into the ground and trundled tortuously away into a rivulet adjacent to the lagoon. Aghast, she cried in woeful lament at the loss of her gilded orb, for the depth of the rivulet was such that, despite the luminosity of the orb, it was beyond her reach and her visibility. Between snivel and sob, she bemoaned her loss, saying, "I would bequeath my complete attire, my collection of precious gems, and all that I possess to embrace my golden orb just one last time." Verily at that time did an amphibian of the genus Rana, a frog, rise to the surface of the lagoon and engage the prince in verbal discourse, saying, "Pray tell your highness, what is the source of your angst? Can I be of assistance?" With insulting and derogatory language and somewhat deprecating demeanor, she elucidated on her plight thus: "Thou repugnant and repulsive amphibian of the genus Rana, what succor or solace couldst thou possibly proffer? My golden orb is lost and beyond my reach in yon rivulet." Unabashed, the amphibian replied in a sympathetic and compassionate manner, saying, "I have no prerequisite or desire for your worldly chattels, but should you avow that you will allow me enter your castle, feed me from your golden plate, and permit me sleep in your bed, I will retrieve your golden orb." "What priceless poppycock," pondered the princess. "This amphibian is bound by the confines of this lagoon, although," she reflected with fiendish and malevolent inspiration, "he may indeed retrieve my golden orb. Gadzooks, I shall agree to his preposterous petition." "If you retrieve my golden orb," she said, "I pledge to be bound by contract and accede to your asinine demands." The amphibian dove deep, and after an interlude of considerable magnitude, surfaced with the golden orb clenched resolutely in his mouth. He then tossed it triumphantly on the edge of the rivulet. Displaying great joy and jubilation, the fledgling noblewoman seized the orb and hastened home with great alacrity, showing complete indifference and disregard for the amphibian. Much to his chagrin, she also ignored his request that she should adhere to the tenets of their contractual agreement and take him with her. On the succeeding day, the fledgling noblewoman perceived a strange but rhythmical, percussive rapping and splish-splash sound emanating from beyond the entrance of her dining area. She was even more astonished to hear a voice call to her, saying, Open the door, you're the one I adore. Unfasten with haste, there's no time to waste. Let's honour right now the words of your vow, made in the nook of that shady brook. Unbolting the ingress with some degree of trepidation, anticipating perhaps the arrival of a clandestine suitor, she was greatly enchanted when she recognized the previously disremembered amphibian of the genus Rana. Immediately, she callously and abruptly slammed the door in his face. Perceiving a high degree of consternation in his daughter's countenance, the king besought her, saying, "What, my child, causes you such anguish? There is a horrid and revolting amphibian of the genus Ranus adjacent to this door. He retrieved my favourite bauble, my golden orb from the rivulet adjoining the lagoon yesterday, whereupon foolishly I pledged to be bound in contractual agreement to allow him enter our abode, eat from my plate, and sleep in my bed. This, your majesty, was based on the mistaken premise that he would be powerless to survive beyond the lagoon. And now he seeks entrance." During this declamation, the amphibian repeated the strange but rhythmical percussive rapping on the door and said, "Open the door, you're the one I adore. Unfasten with haste, there's no time to waste. Let us honour right now the words of our vow, made in the nook of that shady brook." The king spoke to his daughter, saying, "My child, notwithstanding the legitimacy of your verbal contract, your word is your bond, and you must permit him entrance. Unlock the door." With insolent defiance, the fledgling noblewoman complied with her father's command. Upon entering, the amphibian hopped in pogoat fashion until he resided next to the table where the fledgling noblewoman had been seated. "Pray place me on a chair," he said to the princess, "and let me sit next to you." Once she had conformed to his request, he said then, "Put your plate nearer to me that I might eat from it." In defeated compliance, she again acceded to his demand, and when he was satiated, he said, "And now I am fatigued. Carry me to your bedchamber and place me in your bed." With reluctant acquiescence, she transported the amphibian to the pillow of her bed, where he instantly plunged into a deep and soporific slumber till dawn, whence he bounded from the bed, hopped down the stairs, and left. With joyous exultation, the fledgling noblewoman presumed, "Now that the amphibian has vacated my home, I shall be distressed no more." But alas and alack, she was mistaken. For as night prevailed, the fledgling noblewoman again perceived that strange but rhythmical percussive rapping, followed by the amphibian entreating once more, "Open the door, you're the one I adore. Unfasten with haste, there's no time to waste. Let us honour right now the words of our vow, made in the nook of that shady brook." Upon entering the fledgling noblewoman's domicile again, the erstwhile nocturnal events were repeated. The amphibian ate from her plate, slept in her bed, and left at dawn. The third night's episode was a replication of the aforementioned nocturnal gyrations, with one remarkable exception. Awakening at daybreak, the princess's astonished gaze fell, not upon the repulsive and repugnant amphibian she had come to know, but upon a visage so striking that, were it not for her youth, the palpitations within her breast may have resulted in cardiac arrest. For instead of that amphibian, there lying in her bed was a young and handsome prince. His body was strong and lean. He had abs of steel and long flowing flaxen hair. As she gazed deliriously into his azure blue eyes, she vaguely heard him explain how he had been bewitched by a witch, ensconced by an enchantress, scorned by a sorceress, anathematized to live his life as a frog, and fated to so abide until a fledgling noblewoman, a princess, would deliver him from the incantation by thrice consenting to his dining from her plate and sleeping in her bed. In glorious and sonorous, loquacious verbiage, the prince declared, "O courageous and beautiful fledgling noblewoman, thou hast destroyed the devious despot's decree, cracked that cretin's curse, wrecked the witch's whammy, and freed me from her power. I have now but one desire, to engage thee in wedlock, and to effect immediate conveyance to my father's kingdom, where I will love you as long as we both shall live." Elated and ecstatic, the princess gesticulated agreement, being overwhelmed and rendered speechless for the first and only time in her life by the enormity of the occasion. Directly as the princess assented, a coach appeared drawn by 8 stallions, festooned with scarlet plumes and a golden harness. They reached the kingdom soon thereafter, and subsequent to a wedding of extravagant proportions, the couple lived in harmonious happiness for the remainder of their lives.